So hey all, welcome to Hyderabad Power Platform User Group. This is our August 2023 meetup, and today we have two amazing speakers joining us for covering different topics on Business Central and Power Automate Desktop Flow. So everybody, please welcome Francis Msangi Masera and Clavin Fernandes to the meetup today. As for the sessions, we are going to talk about the first session is about getting started with extension development in Business Central. So, Francis is going to talk about that. If you have any questions, you can drop a message on the chat, and I will read it to Francis, and he should be able to help you. Then second session is by Clavin. It is going to be about creating Power Automate for desktop actions using Actions SDK. So we will start on the second session once the first one is completed. With that, thank you so much all for joining. And Francis, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, we can start your session.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ritika, for this invitation to present to the user group, Hyderabad user group. I hope I've pronounced it well.
Yes, you pronounced it right.
Okay. Fine. So, just a minute. When you're able to
Okay.
see the screen,
Yeah.
just let me know.
We can see your screen.
Okay. Okay, well and good. I hope you're able to
Okay.
see. Okay,
Yes,
fine.
I'm able to see this slideshow.
Okay, thank you. So, welcome to the Hyderabad Power Platform user group. And today we'll be looking at getting started with extension development in Business Central. And we will basically look at AL programming. Business Central is a Microsoft Dynamics 365 ERP that comes part of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 business application stack. And in that stack, we will basically look at this particular product, ERP, because we have the CRM, we do have the Dynamics 365 F&O, and we look at if you'd like to maybe extend this application, if you'd like to add a few features to this ERP, what can you be able to do? And yes, we are speaking about programming, which is now what you're saying, extension development, but we are looking at a language which is only specific to Dynamics 365 Business Central ERP. So my name is Francis Msangi Masera. I have over 5 years of experience in implementing, customizing, deploying the Business Central ERP, and it's been ranging from different kinds of users, from government institutions, financial institutions, SMEs, and all other industries. So I was also awarded recently the Microsoft MVP Business Application for my outstanding contributions in the community. I am also the leader of the Dynamics User Group Kenya, similar to your user group, and I am Microsoft Certified Business Central Consultant Associate. So this is a certification on the use of the ERP. This is something that you can be able to earn. The exam code is MB800 for this certification, for the use case of how good you are in using the ERP. It's quite wide. So if you're able to use it well, then you'll be able to be certified, because it is giving you scenarios of different cases of business scenarios where you will be able to answer such questions. It's not a programming exam, but it is um, a functional use case exam. I am a Microsoft certified Power App Maker associate, and because the Power apps integrate to Business Central, and that's why I was able to take this certification. And I'm also the technical director at Jishinde Creative Limited. So that's it about me. So, what are the key advantages of Dynamics 365 Business Central ERP? One main advantage of this ERP, first of all, before we look at the advantages, an ERP is a solution that brings together an all in one solution for your business. Okay, contrary to other applications where you'd have a system for human resources, a system for finance, that is an accounting system, a system for inventory management, and another system for sales and marketing. If you have four systems working for one organization, what this means to you is the reporting becomes a headache. For you to be able to get a sales report, the sales system has to be used. And maybe the expenses in part of the sales system should be updated in the accounting system. And this makes reporting really, really tedious. And that's why the ERP, having all systems integrated into one, we'll be able to see in a few. And it just gives us that advantage. And it gives us the ability to have seamless integration because this is a Microsoft product, seamless integration to all other Microsoft products like Excel, Word, and Outlook. So this is really amazing. So Business Central will give you that ability to have that seamless integration because most users already do have those Microsoft applications. It can be it is scalable in a way that you can easily be able to add users and functionalities without disruptions. This is an application that comes in as a shell and can be extended. Cloud cloud-based accessibility. So the ERP comes in two forms, on-prem and cloud, but mostly cloud-based because it offers easy access, automatic updates, and cost-effective maintenance. The advantage of having using Business Central on cloud are just tremendous because any user can access it from anywhere without even the need of using VPN. They're able to access that. And a comprehensive financial management that is so much robust that will be able to streamline the processes. So from general ledger to multi-currency support, because this is a global system and it can cut across an organization that has branches in different countries. It has a very robust multi-currency support where if you'd like to manage all the US dollar and all other currencies all in one and the conversions in a way that you can also be doing daily updates for the current currency rate. Maybe you're doing US dollars to Kenyan shillings or to Indian rupees. All that has got you covered. Okay, insightful analytics because you can easily integrate it to Power BI and get those dashboards. But before that, we also have a reporting functionality in BC, which is so much great. And then we have a customization flexibility. Okay, this is the ERP that is among the most customizable ERPs in the industry around, compared to other ERPs like SAP, Oracle. They are not as customizable as Microsoft Dynamics 365. And the customization is quite easy for us to do. And it's open for you to learn using a language that is has a lot of resources, a lot of community support. So customization is really great. Then global readiness. So it supports, okay, whatever I've just mentioned about the international support. And in Business Central, for us to customize, we'll be using AL programming. This AL programming basically unlocks the Business Central. It unlocks Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. What AL comes in is a shell. You are given a base application. And this base application, yes, it has got tremendous modules from financial management, from to manufacturing to HR. And this shell could be having okay, it has functionalities that are custom to different countries like US. uh, I believe Indian should also be having a customization for it. And then maybe now in this organization they need some additions, maybe a new field to be added, a new report to be a new format of a report to be changed. So this AL programming, this shell that you have been given, gives us the ability, when we leverage on this programming that runs on top of the Visual Studio Code extension, we are able to now be able to redevelop or add features on top of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. Okay, I have logged into a cloud sandbox. Here we are seeing we are here in Dynamics 365 Business Central, and it is showcasing some of the modules. And basically here what I'm having is just an overview of the different modules that we have in the BC. We have finance management. On top of it, okay, the most robust and the module that is the strength of Business Central is financial management. And actually, in any organization, at the end of it all, people want to get their income statement. They'd like to know their earnings. They'd like to know their expenses and integrating it. So the ability to have a robust financial management, which is the strength of Business Central, it's an ERP, an accounting system with the finance management at its core. And all the other modules basically usually integrate to the finance management. Because if you are doing a sales quote and you are maybe okay, the customer is doing a payment, all goes back to the financial management, to the general ledger accounts or to the chart of accounts of your organization. It is the core of the operation of Business Central. This is a training setup with no data, but this is the core of the Business Central module. It is role based in that at the moment I'm logged in as an accountant, but I could be logged in as a different user and I'll see different other modules. Like we have spoken of seamless integration. At the moment, it comes in already integrated with Shopify, and you can see all these transactions, maybe gift cards, shops, customers can be loaded from your Shopify if you are using Shopify directly to Business Central. Doesn't mean that you can't integrate to other applications which haven't been integrated by default, but at least Shopify, if you are using it, it's already integrated in Business Central. And where I am in a landing page. The landing page gives me the uh, the different tiles. So like here, there's a headline. Want to learn more about Business Central. There's a quick action section, an activities section, and then a summarized information on the uh, the different processes based on my role. What is there for me to be able to act upon? These are things that you can be able to actually customize on your own with Business Central. And looking at these different tiles, what it means is you're having sales quotes coming in on your page. And when you click on it, it is giving you that ability to just go straight away to save time. This is called role tailoring. Tailoring is where now we bring in your role and we look at what is most important to you, what is something that you usually do most. And from that, we are able to basically now customize it to each specific user or job group that they are in. So that's the overview of the user side of the application. And it is setup based in that everything is a setup. There is a main setup known as the general ledger setup. This setup will give you an ability to just have a 360 view of the system from just a setup base of the general ledger setup. You will be able to basically navigate to other important setups in Business Central. This will mostly be for the functional consultant or for you as a consultant who is helping the user set up this system. Your playground will mostly be the general ledger setup. And if you get it right from this general ledger setup, then any other part of integration and migration becomes easy, because we'll have the posting, general posting setup, business posting groups, and every other post setup is here. We have accounting periods, dimensions, user setup, cash flow setup, tax setups, VAT, banks, and journal template setups, and all that. So that will be your landing page as a Business Central consultant. Okay, we are looking at AL programming. The reason why I started with the Dynamics 365 Business Central front end is because uh, we need to understand the base application. This is a different kind of programming, different from if I would be programming in maybe Python and I'm given an application or maybe a project. I am creating my base application and there's no other application. Or if I am starting my own web application in C Sharp from Visual Studio Code, I will basically load my C Sharp project, and now I will connect to a database that is custom that I'd like to connect to. Differently from this setup of Dynamics 365 Business Central, you are basically extending an application. When we are extending an application, what it means is we are adding functionality to an application. So we need to be able to understand this application before we are able to add this. Your first step to programming in Business Central should be understanding how Business Central works. I see a few other developers who take it to straight. They try and extend Business Central. They go to the documentation, start extending, and they haven't taken time to learn Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. One good resource is the Use Dynamics, which covers the usage of the application. It has got free videos for Dynamic 365 Business Central. I really love it, and it is step by step based. And actually, the Microsoft Learn. I hope you all have the Microsoft Learn. Uh, you set up your profile and look at the functionality and the usage of Business Central. This will be your base for Business Central. Okay, that said and done, let's just do one extension to Dynamics 365 Business Central. We have mentioned that we will be using Visual Studio Code to be able to do, okay, what am I doing? Visual Studio Code. This is the integrated development environment that we will be using to extend Business Central. It is free, open source for Microsoft. The site for downloading Visual Studio Code is code.visualstudio.com. When you log into this site, you'll be able to get uh, the different code editing redefined you see here. And then we'll have an ability to download. So if you are in a server or on Windows, choose your version. Or if you're on a Linux base or Mac OS, download Visual Studio Code and install Visual Studio Code in your environment, and you'll be able to extend Microsoft Dynamics 365. I already have an installation of Visual Studio in my machine, so I won't go through the process of downloading and installing Visual Studio Code. Here is my Visual Studio Code, and basically what I have here, okay, these are recent projects. It comes also as a shell, and I love the way Microsoft has been building applications that are extendable. Not building building applications that are extendable means that it also gives us developers as an opportunity to add some few things to that application, to add value to that application. One great tool for your AL development is Visual Studio Code, and it comes in also as a shell. Mine could be different because I have already customized it. it will look as you want it to be. The extensions that will add are the ones that will be displayed for your Visual Studio Code. So right on the left, there is a button for extensions. So when you click on the extensions, you should add actually the AL language extension. You'll search for the AL language extension, and it will just basically tell us what is it. It is the development tools for Dynamics 365 Business Central. For me, I have installed, you can look at this, over 282,000 downloads from Microsoft.com. So it is verified from Microsoft. This is the official extension development language. So you can even have a look with the features that it's adding and install it. So mine is already installed, but for you, you'll get an option to install if you haven't already done it. So for now, at the beginner stage, just stick to the AL language extension. Like for me, I have so many others here, different other extensions displayed, but for you, just install AL language and you'll keep on installing other extensions as you move on. Okay, I already have a sandbox in my uh, okay, Business Central, the one that I've just shown. So the command that you will be able to basically know, or with time, if you're using okay, AL development, you'll be able to use it so much. Look at this command right on my screen. There's this Control Shift P. It shows all commands, like show all commands for Visual Studio Code. We want to see all the commands that are available for us to be able to do the development. So let me go a Control Shift P, and Elgo, I've been using it for quite some time. That's why it's displayed as the first one. But this is the command that you need to use. Elgo. Let me select the default where it's directing me to go to the documents and the L project 20. But here, okay, I don't know if I will. Wow. Hyderabad. Let me say Hyderabad. I don't know if that is the correct spelling. If not, you guys just forgive me. And then, so here it gives us an option to choose the target platform. I will choose the Microsoft Business Central 2023 release wave 1. And then there I am. So I am okay. There's another option to choose the server. I'm asked to choose the server. So I'm using the Cloud Sandbox. If you're using the on-prem, you choose your own server. But for now, I'll choose the Cloud Sandbox. So once I've done that, it gives me now an option. So it is trying to extend a customer list. Here, it is already creating a default extension that tries to extend the customer list. But I need to just set a few configurations so that I can um, be able to access or be able to do the development in my sandbox. The environment that is here is a sandbox environment. And if I am to go to the admin center of this environment, I can be able to manage the environment even further. And in my admin center, I do have the sandbox name. It has got a current version of 22, and then the name is training. So when I go back here to my app.json, what I need to configure is the name of the environment that I'd like to access. So from the environment that we have looked at, the version is 22. No need of going to the sub versions, but the main version is most important. It could be 21, 20. So you make sure that you have the correct version there for your application. Then every other feature here is default. So in my uh, environment type for the launch.json that deals with the launching of the applications, if I launch these applications, where should it go to? Then in the environment name, the name that is there is training. In my sandbox, I created a training sandbox. So I will use the training environment name, and then the startup page will be page 22, break on error. These are the default settings are all okay. And Yeah, I think it's all okay. At the moment, we can see we don't have, look at the code. We just have a customer, a page extension, 5100 customer list extension extends customer list. So what I like to do, we have said Control Shift P will be our go-to. It will be where we'll always be using this command to show all commands, because we need to run commands to be able to execute different actions. What I'd like to do is download symbols. What is a symbol reference in Business Central? A symbol reference is basically getting the base application code downloaded to our Visual Studio Code. And when you look at my left, I do have AL packages already downloaded. So I've downloaded this base application. The code that is responsible for running the Business Central is now downloaded in my Visual Studio Code. So we are extending an application. We need to be able to have downloaded, and it is saying symbols have been downloaded. We need to be able to have downloaded this application to our environment, so that once we download the application to our Visual Studio Code, we will be able to now be customize this particular application. We'll be able to now add features and change a few things. This page, if you are keen enough, this page had an error, but at the moment after I've done the downloading of symbols, the error has disappeared, meaning I have now I am now linked to the Business Central. When I look at this base application, it has got a lot. It has got all many other functionalities. So what I'd like to do, let me comment this hello world project, edit, and I toggle a block comment. I think I have a similar extension with the same number. And so let me just create. All AL language extensions are with the .al okay extension. They have the file name .al, and the base convention is, like I can say, this is a page extension that will be extending the vendor page. So .vendor list, let me choose the vendor list .al. This page extension will be extending the vendor list. And so the beauty of also having the AL language is it has got snippets. And if I say the T page extension, it's a snippet, meaning I'll be able to easily create an extension 51.1. There's an object range that I'd used, so I'll just be able to use the range that is defined in the app to JSON. So the T-page extension easily enables me to get to creation of this particular extension. So I'll call it the vendor extension, and then it will extend the vendor list. So there is a layout. So it is giving me an option to add changes to the page layout, add changes to the page actions here. So we can just do a quick hello world with a trigger. Whenever the page is opened, what should we do? A simple trigger to just message out, we are here. So the trigger comes in and gives us, it will give us this message. And then in the launch.json, I'd like us, okay, no, not the launch, the app should be the launch. The startup page ID, the vendor list page. Okay, let's leave it as 22, but it will open the customer list page. And then we'll be able to see the vendor list page. We are here once we load. So we still go back to our Control Shift P. Okay, not Control Shift P. Here we are now running of a Control Shift speed. So we just need to start debugging. Starting debugging means is in a way where we are publishing the application, and we will be able to start debugging, and we can be able to view the code in real time if we'd like. If there's an error, we'll be able to view it on our side here if there is an issue. So I am publishing my application. It's not prompting me for any authentication because I have already been authenticated. I have done the authentication for my sandbox. If you haven't done so, if it's the first time you're doing it, it will prompt you for credentials. Even when downloading symbols, it will prompt you to enter your credentials. You'll just enter the credentials that you need to access your Business Central. So when I go to the vendor list, I'll be able to see that we are here. This is just the message that I've added. I have extended an application that is from my Visual Studio Code. So this is the ability now. You're working on your Visual Studio Code. You create an application, publish it to your sandbox, and you can be able to push it to production if it's working okay. So this is the ability that Visual Studio Code gives us. Within a few minutes, you are able to um, extend your application and do several other great functionalities uh, to it. But okay, of course, we have said we should be able to look at the AL development environment first as a first thing, and after okay, we should be able to look at the base application in terms of looking at how the app works in the use dynamics. You should be able to grasp the usage of the application first before you can come to development. And at the end of it all, you should be able now to do some development. Look at this. This is just some easy code, but I know, okay, with time it gets to tough things. And here, this is a page extension that I've created. The objects in AL development are divided into several objects. We have pages, we have reports, we have tables, we have code units, and all that. But at the moment, if you are starting, get the glimpse of the base application, and then you can go to my YouTube channel. I teach about AL programming. There is a valuable playlist on what is it called, a beginner friendly playlist that, of course, it's not even connecting to the cloud sandbox, but it gives you an ability to easily and at a very fast rate be able to get started with your AL programming journey. So these tutorials are brilliant. They're very beginner friendly and others are advanced, but there is a beginner series in my YouTube channel that still covers your step to your first extension. And I don't remember exactly what is there. It's been a year since I created it, but there's also a reporting series. If you'd like to start reporting from scratch and move forward, then you can look at this YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is Tech Namsangi. Tech Namsangi is Swahili, but the English translation is Tech with Msangi. So it's not a big deal, just something that you can be able to understand. But this is the channel and this is the link. You can scan and be able to go there and subscribe, and you can have a look. Another guide is the Microsoft Learn documentation. It is very good with AL development. It gives you a lot in terms of step by step. If you'd like to learn variables, if you'd like to learn control statements, looking at installing your local environment in Docker, you will be able to get the in Microsoft Learn. Make sure you create a profile so that you can go to the AL programming learning paths. I'll share links with Ritika and she'll be able to share the direct links to those tutorials. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn and follow me on Twitter. And feel free to email me in case you have any Business Central question and you'd like any advice. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, Francis. That was really insightful. I am seeing a few messages on the chat with people are praising you. They're saying awesome, doing a great job, Mr. Masangi. And then there was one more. Good to see you, Masangi, here. So, I mean, thank you so much for presenting the session here today. And even I learned a thing or two about the Business Central. I have not worked much on the Business Central side, but looking at these things can really help widen the scope. So, thank you for that.
Great.
And I have shared your social media credentials and also your YouTube channel on the chat. So if
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are any other links you want me to share, then you can share it with me on the private chat, and I'll share it with the whole attendees.
Okay, okay. Brilliant, brilliant. Any question on the chat that I can
Uh,
respond to?
I don't see any questions right now. I'm just seeing messages from the people who are appraising you with good job and comments. So,
Okay,
um,
okay, okay.
and like we are live streaming this on YouTube, so at times most of our attendees watch these meetups afterwards. So you might
Okay.
get questions later. People can reach out to you if they want to, ask you anything.
Okay, okay. That's okay. That's okay. Thank you for having me in the this Hyderabad user group, and I think I hope to see you soon.
Yes, sure, Francis. Definitely. But thank you so much, for taking the time on a Saturday and then coming here and then showing us how we can explore more things in Business Central. So thank you so much once again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, with that, everybody, that was Francis Msangi. Now, next up, we have Clavin Fernandes with us, and he's going to talk about how you can create Power Automate for desktop actions using the Actions SDK. So, Clavin, over to you. If you want to share your screen, we can, I'll add it to the stream.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. We can see your screen.
Perfect. So let me start. So, hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to Hyderabad Power Platform User Group. My name is Clavin, and I'm here to present to you the Power Automate desktop actions with the Actions SDK. So, before we begin with the actual development of the custom action, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Clavin. I manage developer relations and support services at PSPDF Kit. I'm a two times Microsoft Business Applications MVP. I'm a Power Automate super user. I'm a blogger and a content creator. You can find my blog at clavinfernandes.wordpress.com. My Twitter or X handle is Clavin Fernandes, and my YouTube channel is Clavin Fernandes. So you can just go to YouTube and type in my name and you will find me there. So that being said, what is custom action? So custom actions are developed by your organizations, or I can say they are developed by the developers of your organization and uploaded to respective environments. Using the SDK, a developer can create custom action and extend the functionality of Power Automate Desktop. The actions can be utilized in creating flows in Power Automate Desktop by the end users. So, that being said, what are the prerequisites for creating custom actions? First and foremost, on your development environment, you should have .NET Framework 4.7.2 or later. You need to have an IDE, Visual Studio, to develop the actions. And you should have a version of Power Automate Desktop greater than, I would say, you should have a version of Power Automate Desktop version 3.32, 2.32 or later, and you should have the Actions SDK installed as a NuGet package in your IDE. So that being said, there are not many slides, so let's quickly jump into the demo. So first and foremost, before I show you Visual Studio, let's understand how does Power Automate Desktop actually work, right? So if you're not familiar, this is how Power Automate Desktop UI looks like, and you can create new flows. So how does custom action integrate into this particular desktop application? That would be the first question. So if you go to your cloud, that is make.powerautomate.com, you need to expand your data, and here you will see custom actions preview. Yes, this is under preview right now, but we can expect a general release soon. That being said, you can see that I have few custom actions already uploaded. If you want to upload a new custom action, you click on this button and you can upload it here. So that being said, once you upload an action, you need to create a new flow, and let me just type in test and let me click on create. So this is actually opening the Power Automate Designer canvas. On the left, you see the actions. In the center, you see the designer canvas. And at the extreme right, you see the variables. So if you're new to Power Automate Desktop, you will select an action, drag and drop it here, configure it, and the robotic process automation will do the trick. But if you're not familiar with Power Automate Desktop, I would recommend you looking at one of my YouTube videos in which I have explained the basics of Power Automate Desktop. So before we get into the custom actions, you will see something new out here known as asset libraries. The asset libraries is where the assets from your cloud are synced to your Power Automate Desktop, right? Again, this is in preview, but if you compare this with the cloud, it's exactly the same, right? It's exactly the same. You can add an action by just clicking on add, and the action gets added. Now, how do I use this action? The action will be visible under the custom actions preview pane. So I'll expand it and I can just drag and drop it here. At this point, I can use this action in Power Automate Desktop. Now I'll close this because we are going to create this action in this particular demo. So let me not save it. And the next step would be the prerequisites, right? Why did I see it? One of the reason I saw this particular preview feature is because I have the right version of Power Automate Desktop installed. I told you it should be 2.32 or later. I have a later version, so that is the reason why I see it. If you don't have a version um, later than 2.32 or 2.32, then it would not work. So that being said, let's go and do some development. So you need an IDE, right? So the IDE on your screen is Visual Studio. So the Visual Studio, you can go ahead, and the first prerequisite was to go and download the Actions SDK so that you can use it. To go ahead and use it, I can use the Package Manager console. But before doing that, what I need to download, how do I know that? So let me actually go to the Power Automate Desktop article out here, and this is actually very well documented by Microsoft. And here you see that the first prerequisite would be to go ahead and have the package manager downloaded, to have the packages downloaded. And you can use this particular command. I can say copy, I can go to this, I can go to the search, I can type in package manager console. This will initialize my PowerShell. I can just paste it in, and that should go ahead and have the templates downloaded. I already have the templates downloaded, so this is fine. And I'm using Visual Studio 2022, right? So let's go ahead and create a new project and let's start building a custom action. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on new and I'll click on project. Right on the left, under recent projects, you see Power Automate Desktop sample modules. But if you are doing it for the first time, you'll not see it. You need to go to search and just search for Power Automate Desktop Actions, and then you can go ahead and add it. For this particular demo, let's add a sample module or use the sample module template. I'll click on next. Let me give my module a name. Let's leave it as default, right? I'll click on next. I'm going to use a regex file to go ahead and add metadata to my actions. We'll look at it later, but I don't want to create a test project, and I'll click on create. Now this should go ahead and provision my project, right? So it's getting provisioned. So here you see it has got few dependencies, some packages are being downloaded, and then you see the resource file here, and then you see the actions.cs file. So actions.cs file, it's a class file. So if you are a .NET developer, it's just a class file. You can go ahead and write your code and extend it. But here, my friends, I see a few errors out here. Not sure why the errors are, but let's try to go ahead and solve it. The errors usually happen because the modules, or I can say that the packages are not added correctly. So what I can do, I can use PowerShell and add the packages manually to my project, right? To my project. So I can say open in File Explorer. This opens up. This is the place of my CS proj. What I can do, I can launch PowerShell as an admin. And actually, let me dock these things side by side. Okay, I'll copy this path. I'll do a CD, go to the location, and then I will go ahead and run a command. I'll run a command to add the packages manually. So if you come across this, just follow this particular command and it should resolve your problems. So now let me actually go into Visual Studio, and the errors are still there because I have not executed it. So I can hit enter here, and this should add the modules, and here you see the errors are gone. So this is perfect. So this is how you can go ahead and start building it. So what have we learned till now? How to create a project for Power Automate Desktop Actions, and how to use and how to go ahead and install the packages if you get an error, right? If you don't get an error, don't do it. So the next step would be to go ahead and understand this particular class file. So let's start from the top. First and foremost, it has a namespace, then it's a class, right? It's a class, and the name of the class is actions1. Next, what I see is that it has got input arguments. The input arguments is of type string. Now you can go ahead and set input arguments of type integer or file object, etc., etc. It depends on your use case. But here, let's leave it at string. Next, the real magic actually happens in the execute method. In the execute method, you see a try block. The try block is where you're going to write your code, and that's where the execution is going to happen. The catch block will only execute if there's an error. So let's go ahead and look at the resource file. So the resource file actually adds metadata to the action, right? So let's add some metadata to the action of what it's actually going to do. So let's start with a basic hello world example. Don't worry, we'll also go ahead and see a real world use case, but let's start with the basics. So firstly, our action needs a description. So what I can say greet people. The action friendly name. Do you want the action to be visible as action one? No, I would say hello world. What should be the description of the input argument one? So this is the input argument one. Let's say that add the name of the person you want to greet. So I can say add the name of the person you want to greet. Then what's the friendly name? So I'll say person name. What's the description? I can say greetings, right? So let's leave it at this because we need to cover a lot during this particular presentation. But you understand this adds the metadata to your action. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and print hello world. So to print hello world, what I can do is I can use this output argument one, copy it, and paste it in the try block. And then I can just say dollar hello world dollar quote, close the quote, right? But I want to also pass in the input parameter. So I can just say input argument one. At this point, my hello world example is ready. So let's go ahead and build it. Perfect. So no errors and the build has succeeded. So what is the next step? So let's quickly go back toward the slides and have a glimpse of what we need to do next. The next thing that we need to do is package and sign the custom action. Unsigned custom actions or the actions that are not signed correctly will not work in Power Automate Desktop. So you can use your certificate to sign the custom action, or don't be disheartened. Okay, if you don't have a certificate, I'll show you how to create a self-signed certificate and use it, right? And then we will sign the modules, package the modules. If you remember, or if when I showed you the pane where you upload it, it cannot be uploaded just as a DLL, right? Because the output of a class file is a DLL. We need to go ahead and convert it into a cap file and then go and upload it into make.powerautomate.com custom actions window. So that being said, and finally, I also need to sign the cabinet file, right? So let's go ahead and look at the Microsoft documentation again. So for signing the custom actions, I can use the signing tool. That is what it tells me. So the signing tools can be used to sign, but it needs a certificate. So firstly, I need to go ahead and create a certificate. So let's scroll a little bit up here. And this section actually talks about creating and importing a certificate. So again, kudos to Microsoft for creating such great documentation, right? So what I can do, it tells me I can run this in PowerShell. So I have the PowerShell window here and I can run this particular command. Now, you don't need to go and be a PowerShell expert to go and understand this command, but you need to know what to fill in the blanks. So let's start from the top, right? Line number 1. So here it tells me I need to give the certificate a name. Perfect. I'll give it a name. I have a notepad open on my second screen and I'm giving it a name. Second, what I want to do is it creates a new self-signed certificate. It takes the cert name. It uses an algorithm RSA with the hash algorithm of SHA-256. Okay. If this is foreign alien to you, don't worry, right? It's not something that we need to take care of. You might get a certificate from your organization, which you might want to use to sign. Thirdly, you have to set a password to the certificate. Perfect. I'll set a password. Finally, I need to go and export this certificate to a particular location. Perfect. So I'll export the certificate. So I'm going to copy a command from my first screen or my second screen, and this is how it looks like. So my certificate name is PA316, and then I'm going ahead and setting a top secret password, Clavin, and then I'm going ahead and storing the certificate in signing.pfx, which is out here, right? This looks good to me. I can just run this. Perfect. So congratulations, you have created your certificate and the certificate should be in signing. So this is how the certificate looks like. Let me dog this side because I again want to go back into the Microsoft documentation. So here, my friends, what it tells me that the certificate needs to be installed on the computer. So let's go to that process. So I need to install it under current user. That's perfect. This is my certificate name. This is perfect. I need to mark this as exportable and I need to give it the password I specified while creating the certificate. So I'll type in the password. I'll click on next. Next, what it tells me, I need to go ahead and place it into a certificate store. Now, how do I know that? Because it's out here. It needs to be stored in a certificate store known as Trusted Root Authorities. And I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Browse, click on Trusted Root Authorities, click on Next, and finish. At this point, it tells me, gives me a security warning. Do you trust it? Yes, I created the certificate, so I trust it. I'll click on Yes, and I get a success message of the import. So that's awesome. Now that I have gone ahead and created a self-signed certificate, the next part would be signing the modules. So let's go and understand signing of modules. So here it is. So to sign a module, what it tells me, I need to use a Visual Studio developer prompt. This comes with Visual Studio. When you install Visual Studio, you get a Visual Studio developer prompt, right? So this is how the Visual Studio developer prompt looks like. Again, let's dock it side by side so that we can understand the documentation versus the command, right? So I need to use signing tools, and to the signing tool, I need to give the certificate path, okay? And I need to go ahead and give it the DLL path. So there are two things out here. The certificate path I already know. It's going to be this. So I can just do shift, right click, copy as path, replace the certificate path, and I want to give it a DLL path. So the DLL path, I can go to Visual Studio. I can do a right click. This is built. This looks good. Open in File Explorer again, and it should be under bin, debug, net 472. And this is the DLL in that I want to go ahead and sign. Module 1. Perfect, right? So the command is ready on my second screen. So let me copy the command and paste it here. So if you compare it side by side, you see that I put in my certificate path, I gave it the password of my certificate, and then I gave it the path of the DLL file. And if I hit enter, perfect, the signing is done. Now that the signing is done, the next step would be to go ahead and create a cabinet file. So to create a cabinet file, Microsoft has given us a script, and it tells me that I can use this script and create a cap file. So first things first, I'll copy this, I'll paste it here, I'll click on file, I'll click on save as, and I'll give it a name, right? Let me give it a name like make cab file.ps1, and let me save the file out here. Now that I have saved the file, I need to go ahead and run a code and sign it. Again, back to the documentation. There's a lot of back and forth of documentation, but it's very important, right? So the syntax looks like this, where I need to give it the name of the script containing the cap file. So it's basically going to be this particular name, perfect. And then I need to give it the absolute path of the source directory containing the DLL files. Okay, I'll give that. Then I can go ahead and specify a target directory for the cap file. So where I'm going to save the cap file. So the command, there's also an example for the command. So let's copy the example. Let's go back here. This is how the example looks like. So let me quickly create a command out here. And the equivalent command would be like this, right? So I'm into the wrong folder, so I need to do cd dot dot cd dot dot. Now I'm in the correct folder because the PS1 is saved in the signing, right? Signing folder. So this is awesome. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to reference the path out here, which is not correct, right? So let me actually go and look at the path of my DLLs, right? It should be this. It should be net 472, right? So let me change this here. Perfect. And then I'll name the file, the cap file, as hello world. So I can just copy this, or I can just select this and run it. So here you see that the cap file has been created. So if I go back to signing, I see that a hello world cap file is created. So the signing is done. So the last piece in the puzzle is to go ahead and sign the cap file as well with the same certificate. So as I told you, you need to also sign the cap file. So to do that, I'm going to use the signing tool and I'm going to paste a command. The command is straightforward. I'm going ahead and using the same PFX, passing in the password, and then giving the path of the cap file, right? So if I hit enter, Perfect. Our cap file has also been signed. So that being said, the time is to upload the cap file. So the cap file name is hello world. I'll just go ahead and upload hello world, give it a good description. I'm going to just skip the description, and if everything goes correctly, this should be uploaded as a custom action into the Power Automate cloud. Okay, it's uploaded in the cloud, but we need to use it in the desktop. So let me close this and let me create a new flow. So the new flow name will be hello world. So it's getting things ready. I'll go into the assets library, and here you see, my friends, I have hello world. At this point, if the cap file or if the DLLs were not correctly signed, I would get an error. But now I have not got an error. So how does it look like? So a module can contain actions. The actions that we have, the first action that we have is hello world. So if you see, because we added data in the regex file, now it tells me the action name is hello world, a friendly name to the action. It also gives me a description, like it's used to greet people, and I have, instead of input argument 1, I have a friendly name such as person 1. Right? I also have a description out here in the symbol right here, which says name of the person. So I can just say name, just put in Clavin, and I'll click on save. And if I want to say display message, and I can just pass it the output of the action above it and click on save. At this point, I can click on run, and if everything goes correctly, here, my friends, I have hello world Clavin. So congratulations once again, you have created your first custom actions using the SDK. So that being said, should we just create a hello world example? Absolutely not. Let's go ahead and create a real world. Let's go ahead and try to solve a real world problem, right? So to do that, I'll go back into Visual Studio Code. So what is the problem that we are going to try and solve? So one of the customers that I was working with, they said, Clavin, we have tons of XML files which look like this. I want to convert them into a format in which they can be displayed nicely. I said, okay. They said, preferably an HTML. I said, okay. So then I went to the internet and searched, right? The first thing that we do, all of us, right? We do is go to the internet and search. I went ahead and searched and I found this. How can I transform XML to HTML using XSLT? So basically, what XSLT does, it transforms the XML into HTML with the template. The XSLT is a template that you can provide you to transform it. If you're new to XML and XSLT, I recommend you go ahead and read this. But now I wanted to do it on a bulk, right? They just had like thousands of XMLs. So to do that, I went ahead and created a Power Automate desktop custom action. So let's use the same particular modules project, and let me add a class file. As I told you, it's all about a class file. And let's give this a meaningful name. I give action 1. I should have used a better name. So let's come up with a name, XML to HTML. This sounds a little bit better. So this is going to be a second action. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy paste the code from actions 1 and paste it out here. Just clear this, paste it out here. That's pretty much it. At this point, I want to make few changes to this particular file, right? So I'm getting few errors, right? So first things first, I need to change the name of the action, right? Now the action name is not action 1, it's XML to HTML. Secondly, I want to give it a unique GUID. So I'll say ID, that is action 2, and I'll say the order is 2, right? In the drop down, it will come below our hello world example. So that being said, this is our boilerplate code that we are going to use. Next thing that we want to do is we want to add metadata. Now, I'm not going to use a resource file because I want to show you a second way of doing it. The second way of doing it is decorating it with the friendly names. So let me just say XML to HTML. And let me also add a description, right? You should always describe what your action does. I'll say convert XML to HTML using XSLT. That sounds good. Next, what I want to do, I want to specify input arguments. Now, again, I should use meaningful names out here instead of just putting in something like input argument one. So let's go ahead and use XML input. However, I also need to give the input argument description. So what I can do is I just copy something over to save up some time, right? So let's change this like this. So again, I'll give it a friendly name. I'll give it a description. Similarly, I want to also pass in the XSLT. So I want to give it a second input argument. So what I can do is I can just paste a second input argument like this. The output argument is also boring. I can say we should be more descriptive. So let's go ahead and change this to this, right? That is, give it a meaningful name, HTML output. And finally, let me get rid of this because now the output argument does not really exist. Now to convert XML into HTML, I'm going to use XSLT as I told you. So I'm going to copy paste some code out here, right? So let me quickly do that and I'll explain you the code in a little bit. So this is how my code looks like, right? So I'm going to go ahead and use the XML compile transform library to transform XML to HTML using XSLT. What it will do, it will take the XML and then use a style sheet and decorate the XML as an HTML so that it's presentable. Finally, it will store the result in results, and that result, I'm going to set it to my output variable. Pretty straightforward code, right? Now, using this, you are actually solving a real world problem. But before that, we need to use it. So let's build it. So the drill remains the same, right? First, what do we need to do? We need to sign it. So we need to first sign. I have already imported my certificate. So what I'm going to do, I'm directly going to sign this. Sign the DLL first. Perfect. Go and create a cap file. I'll just create a cap file with a different name. I'll say hello world 1 in the same location. The cap file is being created, and then finally sign the cap file. So signing the cap file will be this, right? Hello world 1. And this cab is also being signed. Now that the cab has been signed, what I can do is I can go into the new flows, and no, I cannot go into the new flows. I need to go to make.powerautomate.com and upload my new action. My new action is hello world 1, say hello world 1 with XML, something like that, right? So let's give it some name and I'll click on upload. So this, my friends, has been uploaded. And next, what I can do is I can go into Power Automate Desktop, click on New, click on Create. Perfect. I'll go into the Assets Library. This should pull in this particular new action that we just created. I'll click on Add. Yes, it has been signed correctly, so no errors. And finally, if I go down here and if I expand it, now you will see two actions. Now understand this. This is a module. And then you can create actions under it. That is the reason why I created a second action so that things can be a bit clearer to you. I can drag and drop this action and I can go ahead and use it. But before that, I need to read the XML, right? So I'll say read text from file. I'll go ahead and give it a location. So signing. So reading the XML, I'll just say file content. Just make this XML so that I don't get confused later. I can drag and drop this again. I'm going to say, give it a file path again. So again, I'll go into signings and it's going to be XSLT. And then I'll just even rename this file content XSLT, save. And now I'm going to use my action, right? I'm going to use my action. So I'll scroll down. I'll expand my action, custom action, drag and drop it here, input XSLT. So I need to pass it first, the XSLT, then I need to pass in the XML, and it will be stored in the HTML output. And finally, I can go ahead and write it back, write text to file and store it somewhere, right? So let me go ahead and again go into signings. Let me just select this for now, but I'm going to rename it XML to html.html. And what is the text I want to write into this is HTML output. Save. At this point, I can go ahead and run it. But before I run it, let's see how does our XML look like. So to see that, our XML looks like this, right? So let me run it and let's see the output. First and foremost, no errors. So that is good. Thank you, demo gods. No problems. Then I can go and see the output. Wow. So just look at the output. If I transform this into this using a custom action and how easy it was by just writing few lines of code. Now that being said, let's get back into the slides and let's see if we are missing something. So the demo is done. We went ahead and uploaded the custom actions. We went ahead and saw how we can use it in Power Automate Desktop. Then finally, let's come to the limitations. So custom actions cannot exceed 30 MB, right? I have already added idea saying that it should be about 30 MB. The main reasoning being if you are using third-party DLLs, your cap file may bloat or it might become big such that the 30 MB limit might just be exceeded. If you have specific endpoints that you're using, you need to whitelist it. It does not support application lifecycle management as of now. The upload date in the portal, that is make.powerautomate.com, can be different as compared to the desktop. That's fine, I think. The asset libraries cannot have more than 5,000 custom actions. If the custom actions will not be available, if you have enabled something like bring your own key in your from the protective services. And finally, as we saw, the machine that is running the code should have the certificates installed, right? So that are few of the limitations. Licensing, $1 million question. So if you have a standard RPA license, then custom actions will be available to you. It's a premium feature, so it's not available for free or a trial, right? So that's pretty much it. And I think that is the end of my session. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Ritika, any questions?
Hey, Clavin, that was amazing. I mean, I like the way you were explaining various things. Even for a beginner, it is something which can with through which they can easily connect. So thank you so much for that. And I see one comment on the chat. Like I like his explanation. So the attendees are also happy with the way you were explaining things. So thank you so much for
Okay,
that.
just tell him or her thank you for the kind words. It really motivates when you hear something good from the community. But that being said, I think this is really powerful and this is in preview as of now, and I see it being used more and more. I have
Mm-hmm.
already created few other POCs which will be available soon on my YouTube channel. So if you want to go ahead and learn more about custom actions, always go and visit my YouTube channel. You'll see it there. I've also been very chatty with the product group and providing feedback. So yeah, that's what it is.
Uh-huh. So, guys, if you have any questions related to Power Automate desktop flows and specifically for the custom actions, please do reach out to Clavin. And Clevin, I think Yash also shared your tutorial series URL from YouTube on the chat. So, is there any other resource you would like to share with the group?
The resource that I would like to share is the Microsoft documentation. I guess I said kudos more than often because I really like the way it is being documented. It, so this is a new tech, and getting it documented the right way is very important. And the efforts that Microsoft has been putting is really, really awesome to make it so clear and not confusing. If you see, even small things like creating a certificate is there.
Okay. So I think Yasha shared the URL from the chat, so that's good. Guys, that was it for Kevin today. If you have any questions, please reach out to him on LinkedIn, Twitter, and we also shared his blog on the chat. So if you have got any questions, just reach out to him. And thank you so much once again, Clavin, for coming here at the Hyderabad Power Platform User Group and sharing this, newly released preview feature with our attendees.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting the session.
Okay. So with that, I think we can close the meetup for today. Once again, thank you, Francis and Clevin, for coming here with us today and speaking about the Business Central and then the Power Automate desktop flows. Now I have one more announcement for the next meetup. So next time we are planning to do a in-person event in Hyderabad. It will be at the Microsoft office and it will be on 12th of September, sorry, 9th of September. We are doing a in-person meetup in Hyderabad, and we have shared the link for registration on the chat. If you are in Hyderabad and you would like to attend the session, you can register and confirm your seat. So I'll be monitoring the registrations. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or Yash, and then we can help you out. Okay, so that was all. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Have a great rest of your day and have a happy weekend. We will talk again next month. In case you have any questions for us, you can reach out to us on the user group page or just on the social media directly. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye.